how you can tell it's a good joke.
That's how you tell it's a dad joke. It has to have some educational piece. Like it
So
goes
that's what I
over your head.
yeah, I mean, I don't want otherwise it'll make my kids stupid, and I don't want that. So, there's gotta be education in it.
Have you seen recently like on YouTube and stuff? I've been getting these dad jokes. Like it's a couple of guys that just like go back and forth like doing dad jokes. Like they're
Oh,
just like,
yeah.
dude, they're so funny, dude.
They're my heroes. Like, there's a chance I may leave the crypto space to go do what they do. I have to find them, though.
Oh my gosh, it's awesome. It's so funny to me. Like some of these things, like I get that it's like dad humor, and I'm not that old, right? Like I'm 22, but at the same time, dude, I don't know what it is. Some of these things crack me up.
Oh yeah, they're great. Well, and I have a hard time judging if jokes are funny or not because my kids will laugh at them, and so then I'm like, oh, that's a really good joke, but then I'll tell other people and they'll be like, that's not a joke at all. I'm like, oh, well, my kids liked it.
Yeah, it's
Maybe I
like
should just hang out with them.
until they're a certain age, and then they're like, Dad, you're not cool anymore.
Yeah, yeah.
Right?
My daughter is 10 and a half, so she's almost 11. She's getting to that age, like she'll kind of roll her
Is she the
eyes and
oldest?
yeah, she's the oldest.
Gotcha. Yeah. That's really funny actually. How many kids do you have?
I've got three. So I got a 10-year-old girl, 8-year-old boy, and 5-year-old boy.
Gotcha. So they're all within like 5 years. That's really cool actually.
Yeah, yep. No, and they're all good friends, which is nice. And they're really good kids actually.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's awesome. That's really, really awesome. So let's get into it. I was excited to kind of hear everything going on with you, and I know you've been very, very busy, like you said. And right now is that building phase. So what do you think has taken up the most of your time recently?
I mean, it's I've been working on kind of my processes
Hmm.
because like it's been crazy with AMA requests. I mean, it's like 6 a day maybe, and it's just been kind of crazy working through like, oh, I got to get some processes in place or else it's
Hmm.
just not gonna like it's just not gonna work out. And then, hundreds of emails and hundreds of Twitter DMs. And so just I don't know, just really like organization has kind of been the hardest thing. So I hired a thumbnail guy. I just hired a video editor. I hired a collab manager. I hired an email writer, and so I'm kind of just. I mean, this is what I did when I started my other business too. Is I was doing so much, and so I just started. Okay, what are some things I need to do? And I started just kind of hiring out those things,
Hmm.
and that frees me up to go do other things. So that's kind of what I've been up to.
Just getting all the back end of everything set up.
Yeah, yep. And I've been working on I have a members group now. Well, I have Sleep Money Club, which I'm still doing stuff in there with Andy and Colin. I have just like my YouTube subscribers now,
Hmm.
where I have them in a Telegram chat, and they're helping me put together some of my videos, my top projects, and things like that. So it's been fun just hanging out. We have 100 that have signed up so far, and so we've just been in this chat, just talking about all sorts of projects, and that's been a lot of fun.
Hmm.
But yeah, the AMAs will always be the staple, probably of what I do. But now my released videos have some editing, so I've never done any editing, and I just hired a video editor, and I basically just told him, hey, you have free reign, make my videos more entertaining, and so that's his job.
Gotcha, gotcha. Yeah, I think it takes such a unique skill set. It amazes me when you have somebody that is this artistic and just can throw something together. It baffles me because I have none of that skill at all. But that's really great. Getting
Yeah.
all those
Well,
processes
and that's
down.
Well, and that's super important thing to realize is like what is your strengths and what are not what is what are your strengths and what are your weaknesses. And then like if you spend a lot of your time working in an area that is not a strength of yours and you don't enjoy it, you're going to get super burned out. And so
Hmm.
like video editing is not something that I'm good at, and it's not something that I want to be good at. So those are things that I want to outsource. And it's really it's convenient, or I don't know the right word, But it's nice that like right now on the internet, you can find people to help with pretty much anything,
Yeah.
whether they be overseas or even here in the States. And it's really like, man, I can pay somebody $7 an hour to edit my videos, and that's saves my time and saves my energy, and is something I definitely don't want to do. So yeah, that's what I've been doing here recently.
Hmm. And what a better time to do it than during the building phase, right? For every single project out there. I think it's probably the best time you could have picked to get on it.
Yeah, yeah, and it's the bear market's a little bittersweet, but I've actually been enjoying it because it's like projects fail pretty quickly.
Hmm.
So you don't have to give projects very much time before you realize, oh, this is not going to work out. Whereas before, like there was so many projects that were just like on the edge of a knife, and they were working well until one day they weren't. And so I don't know.
Yeah.
There's a big part of me that's liking the market the way it is, and just we have to be more careful. We have to look for revenue streams. We have to stick to sound business principles and things like that. So yeah, there's a part of me that's enjoying it. Although I mean, who doesn't miss the good old days where it just making money in every single project?
Everyone here is like, dude, how are you talking about you're enjoying the lack of money coming in? That's funny. Um,
Yeah, but there was during the bull market though, there was for me there was so much fear because I'm like, I know
mm,
the market's not going to be like this forever. And I just don't know what's going to happen when the bear market hits. Like, I don't know what's going to happen to these projects. And we
yeah.
kind of have found out, and now we know, what to look for better going forward.
Yeah, for sure. And so we've gone through, the different seasons of DeFi, really, right? We went through, I mean, you went through rebases, you went through nodes, you went through like there's been a progression of like kind of the popular thing to go. What do you think? What do you think is coming next? Like, I know now we're like everyone's looking for revenue streams, and there have been a couple different things that have been starting to pop up. But what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's a great question. I mean, it kind of seems like the go-to thing right now is the trading bots. That seems to be
Yes.
what everyone is successful with. And it remains to be. I mean, trading bots are not new. They're newer in the
Hmm.
crypto space, but like forex trading bots have been going for years and years and years. I
Hmm.
mean, that was 20 years ago. I remember forex trading bots were the thing. So I mean, I think what you said, revenue streams, is what we should be looking for. There's always going to be ways to repackage these schemes. Like, if you look at the last 40 years in the economic sector, there's just like tons and tons of different ways to repackage Ponzi schemes, and
Hmm.
it's really hard sometimes to tell. Oh, this is just a repackaged Ponzi scheme. And it's really hard too, because in Ponzi schemes, a lot of people make money. It's just kind of the ending people who don't. So a lot of people will be in Ponzi schemes and they'll say, hey, this has worked great. It's made me a ton of money. So I imagine we're going to continue with some restructured Ponzi
Hmm.
scheme. I don't know what they're going to call it. Probably, we've used out rebase, we've used out node, we've used out auto rebase. Those things. So they're going to have to come up with a new term, but it'll probably be just a repackaged Ponzi in some way. So yeah,
Hmm.
revenue streams are what I've been really looking for and clinging, and I really been enjoying these projects that don't give
Yeah.
a guaranteed amount. They give, hey, here's the actual revenue produced, just because then there's not the inflation. So I've really been enjoying, yeah, Yield Nodes, Project
Hmm.
79, Gold Bridge, and just the ones that pay out the actual returns that they're getting.
Yeah, yeah, that's super super important for sure. And I think like we went into a brief like LMS kind of season that we're still kind of in, but I think people are starting to realize, hey, LMS doesn't really it's secure if there is more money in the treasury than is being sold off, right? If you the sell pressure will always win though for a project. It doesn't matter if everyone decides to sell, there's zero chance of an LMS functioning. Because the treasury is just going to be run dry. So I think people are starting to realize that too. And it's like a bunch of like there's like a slight twist, and then it's like everyone realizes, a couple months down the road, like, oh, that didn't really mean what was assumed, and then everything kind of shifts again into another little slight twist. But yeah, I
Yeah.
think people are definitely getting more educated right now. Everyone that's here right now is going to be prepared for the next bear market because everyone's going to be, we're going to be a little bit more. There the whole community is a little bit more vetted and veteran, I guess
Oh
would be the
yeah.
word.
Yeah, totally agree. And I think one thing people are realizing is that tokenomics, all tokenomics can do is change the timing of like when sell pressure and buy pressure, match up and things like that. Tokenomics can never bring in revenue. Like it's just not how it works.
Yeah.
So like the liquidity manager is a great way to, you extend out your how
Runway.
long, yeah, how long these things can last, but it's still revenue is going to be needed if you want things to
Mhm.
keep paying out. I mean, it almost is just common sense. Like there's no way for money to be paid out unless money comes in. I mean, it's just I don't know. It's almost common sense. Like, why do we even need to explain that? But it is lessons that we kind of had to learn, and sometimes the hard way.
Yeah. Personally, like I've never been a huge fan of the LMS idea. Like to me, it's almost like you're taking away you're not adding any real value in my opinion because the market's going to price that asset at whatever the market's going to price it. But you're also taking away the upside potential, which to me is like something that I'm not a fan of because that's why we're in crypto, right? We're in crypto because there's a huge upside. But yes, they're taking away some downside, but if it's going to fail, it's going to fail. And so that's kind of like the overall position. I've been kind of like hesitant to like hop on board with like some projects because of that. Um, but yeah, it's just something that's like it's like a weird thing in the back of my mind. It's like I don't know. I've never been able to make up my mind on that.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think you have to look at it as if a project's not paying out a passive income of some kind, then yeah, there'd be no reason to use the LMS because like the whole purpose of crypto, aside from passive income, is we want the coin to go up, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, an LMS wouldn't make sense in that and from that standpoint. If you're giving out passive income, then I think like the LMS can be a good way to because you really don't want your coin if you're giving out passive income, you really don't want your coin to pump super high
Hmm.
because if it pumps super high, then that means it can go super low. And so like
Yeah,
I would never recommend someone get into a passive income project when after a big pump. So the LMS kind of like flattens some of that out. So it just
for sure.
extends your runway a little bit. But yeah, it's not the end all that sometimes we think it might
Yeah,
be.
and I guess more where I'm getting at is it's tough to find that balance between hey, if we go into another run, in the next couple years, even a blue chip could go up 10x from where it's at right now. So you're kind of in a spot where it's like do I think the passive income is going to equal something along those lines, right? With assuming I'm not selling and will it last? And so it's a tougher. There's a lot more risk, and the upside is it's debatable depending on what that is. But I 100% see where you're coming from with the passive income piece. Um, so what have you been up to? What have you been working on outside of just kind of the operations and everything, but like more on like the project front? I know you mentioned Gold Bridge is one of those, and a couple others, but what have really been like your big focuses for kind of this season?
Yeah, I mean, one thing has just been working out my processes so that I have time to focus on other things. Like,
Hmm.
I mean, I have a marker board of like 1,000 things that I want to do, and but then every day was taken up with. I had a few AMAs, answered some email. Like, it was like, what did you do today? Well, I had a few AMAs, answered some emails, and then the day was over. And so it's like I was never getting to any of these things.
Hmm.
So now that I'm having some extra time, one thing I'm wanting to do is, well, I'm wanting to kind of improve the quality of my YouTube videos. So that's why, I hired the editor and things like that, just make them more entertaining. I am, yeah, helping Yield Nodes with some marketing stuff. I'm helping BioFi with some marketing stuff. I am working or I'm looking for a team to kind of help. I want to build an NFT that basically I just take the funds and just put them into my top 10 projects. And then just, it's like, hey, if you want you want exposure to James's top 10 projects, buy this NFT. So I'm kind of working on that. I have a training course that I'm working on that's like designed to help people who aren't in crypto get into crypto. Again, to try to help, bring new capital into the space. So yeah, I mean, just and then obviously just have the daily AMAs with different projects and just keeping an eye on what's being built out there and yeah, I mean that basically takes up my days.
No, I 100%. And you're operating like you are. I now expanding, but you were a one man show for quite some time, at least for most of what was going on behind the scenes. And so yeah, it's definitely a lot to balance all these different roles on your own. Um, what do you think are the biggest things? 'Cause you mentioned education. I think people are starting to realize like how important that is for the space because there are so many people and it's bizarre. Like if you step outside the niche off, you get offline for a second. When people hear the word crypto, they're like, "Oh." Like it's not like a, "Oh, that's cool." It's like almost like a distaste for the thing. And I think it's because there's such a negative connotation around it. There's such the reputation is not great in the eyes of a lot of the public, including people that are that have made very 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 good decision making in investments with the stock market, with real estate and things like that. It's almost like this piece that is it it leaves a bad taste in people's mouths, and I think part of it is because it's so new, and like the internet did that too, right? When the internet first was kind of kicking off, and there was a lot of thought around that as well. But what do you think is like the most important thing to like hammer down when you're talking, whether it's education for someone new that maybe a family member approaches you and like you're in this, like why would why are you in that kind of thing, like just kind of what do you think is like the number one thing to address something like that?
Yeah, I mean, financial education in general is something that I kind of like want to bring to the
Mhm,
space and just bring to the people around me. I think like most people I talk with outside of crypto just like give their money to a financial advisor or something.
mhm,
Like the retirement account is with a financial advisor, and like stocks are not doing well. So, like, retirement accounts are not doing well,
mhm,
but these people are still taking a fee to manage your money. And so, like, just kind of helping teach people, like, hey, do you realize that the system that's in place is designed to make your financial advisor rich, not you? Like, you're losing money every month, he's making money every month. And I don't know, just kind of explaining the education around finances in
mhm.
general, I think will bring some people to crypto. But then in crypto, like teaching people to not we're so trained to like look for get rich quick,
Mhm.
and getting people out of that. And then like, it's like the cliches that are true, and so they're not really cliches, but like don't risk more than you can afford to lose is something that like people have to learn that the hard way. Like you can tell them, but they just don't listen.
Mhm.
And don't just follow YouTube, or like come up with your own investment strategy, those types of things. So yeah, I mean, I think education is probably the best way, and just really focusing on creating, this is what I do, but creating as many income sources as possible, just so as some fall off and some do better than others. You have so many going that you're not relying on one or two. And then what that inevitably does when you have more income streams is then you have more money to that you can then invest, and which gets you more money, and it kind of just
Mhm.
becomes this tornado going up. I don't, what do you call a tornado that
It's like
goes up?
spiraling upwards.
Spiraling upwards. There you
Don't
go.
tornadoes
A
go up?
reverse tornado
Tornadoes go
to
up, right? They push things up in the air.
oh yeah, 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 yeah.
It's a
Sounds
yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah, there we go.
Yeah, see, maybe I shouldn't be teaching my kids. Like, maybe I need to learn some things first.
So
But yeah,
gravity is pulling us
education
up.
so crucial. I think too, people listening might even think, oh, that's just a cop. Like saying education's important is just a cop out.
Yeah.
Like people would much rather have a solid project. Like most people come to me, hey, what project should I get into? Most people don't come in like, oh, what do I need to learn?
How do I research? Yeah.
Yeah, how do I research, and just how should my, what are my goals? Like some people haven't even thought about their goals, which we could do a
Mhm.
whole talk about that. But yeah, I think education is super super critical, especially during this time.
Yeah, when you talk about like not even knowing what your goals are, can you dive a little bit deeper into that? Like what would that look like if you were trying to help somebody figure out like, okay, what are you looking for? What would that conversation look like?
Yeah, I mean, I think like usually people haven't thought much about their goals. They're just like, when, like the common question, when Lambo, right? It's like, well,
Mhm.
that's not, I mean, is that your goal, is to get a Lamborghini? I mean, that's a fine goal, but like, I hope your goals are more laid out than just, oh, someday I want to get a Lamborghini at some point. It's like, I don't know. What I would want for people is like to think through, hey, if life could be designed exactly as you want it, how would you want it to look?
Mhm,
Or another common question that I think like helps get to your goals is, if you knew that for the next 6 months you couldn't fail, you could do anything and you knew you wouldn't fail, what would you do? And then that gets people start thinking about, well, what I actually want is I want to just work 10 to 3. I want to work from home. And then when you get those kind of goals, like maybe lifestyle goals, you might say, then you can, from that, you can kind of take, okay, so what kind of finances would you need in place to make that happen? Like we'll say quitting your job. Okay, well, I'd need to make, 4K a month, 5K a month
mhm,
in order to quit my job. So it's like, okay, so let's start, working at that. What are you at now? How much capital do you have now? And then you can kind of work your way back from like your end goal
mhm,
to, okay, well, here's the next steps that I need to take. And so for me, and again, not everyone thinks this way. And so
mhm.
I like go back and forth whether I say this is what works best for me or if I tell people, no, this is best. But for me, like I can't really accomplish anything unless I know what it is that I'm after, what I'm
Mhm.
trying to accomplish. And usually when I talk with people, they haven't thought much about that. So it makes kind of direction hard for people.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's super, super important. And you have more of that business mindset as well. So you're coming at it from a different place than most people have experience with. So I think that's a super, super important distinction, right? That you're trying to lay out this plan and it can change, but it's that baseline, that the guide to, hey, this is what the reasoning is for everything we do. So if it's not pushing in this way, then I probably shouldn't be, doing it. Um
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so
It's
yeah.
more of a direction. Yeah. It's
Mhm.
more of a direction than like my goal, like my one of my goals is $10,000 a day in passive income, right? Like
Uh-huh.
that's one of my YouTube series. And so each month when I do my video for that, I haven't hit it yet. And so I don't look at it, oh, I'm a failure. I haven't hit my 10K a day yet. But I look at it as, no, that's the direction I'm going. Like,
Yeah.
making 4K a day is still like, that's not something to be like, oh, this is terrible. But it's like, it shows me, okay, this is the direction I need to keep going. Like, this is
Yeah.
what my audience is wanting. This is what I'm wanting for myself. So yeah, it gives you kind of the direction. And it also, I like what you just said, it gives you the focus. Because if we just quoted the Russian proverb, he who chases two rabbits catches neither. But yeah, if you're out just doing everything and not really focused on your goals, then it's going to be really hard to hit them.
Yeah, and you have a lot of experience in like the wealth building, right? And so like what does that look like for you? Because I know there's a load of topics, but once you have that goal set, what is step two? Like how do you start for you yourself? Like how have you started giving people, whether it be, like not trying to give people advice, but like let's say it's a family member that's genuinely just asking for, for some tips. But like what would be your first conversation with them as they're getting, let's assume they're getting the education first, starting to learn. Um but when we're talking strictly wealth building, both inside and outside of crypto, how do you kind of navigate the space on whether they're in outside of crypto and all in between?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, the first discussion that I would have, like, I have four younger brothers. Okay, so I
Hmm.
have these talks pretty often. But like, the first thing is like I said, getting super clear on your goals,
Hmm.
because some people's goals might not be like some of my brothers. They don't ever want to be their own boss. They just want to work. I mean, it's way less stressful working for someone else.
Yeah.
So it's not on everyone's goal list to start my own business or run
Hmm.
my own YouTube channel or things like that. So it'd be silly of me to point people in steps to do those things if that's not what they wanted to do.
Yeah.
So kind of starting with that, and then really getting a handle on your money in versus money out
Hmm.
flows. So especially when you're not making, I don't want to sound condescending, but if you're not making very much, you have to pay a lot more attention to your how much money is going out, how much you're spending,
Hmm.
because you want to make sure you have a surplus, because the surplus is where you're going to be able to go invest that
Hmm.
into other potential passive income things. And that's probably the biggest mistake I see, especially for younger people, is younger people have less money to spend, but they want to spend it more.
Mhm.
Um, and when you get older, you have more money, but you don't want to spend it as much. So it's kind of the reverse of what would be ideal.
Yeah.
Um, but so yeah, especially younger guys in particular, it's like, hey, don't want to get rich quick. That's a fool's errand that you're going
Mhm.
on. Um, keep control of your spending, because every dollar that you can invest is a dollar where you get closer to kind of those goals that you might have, those passive income goals that you might have. So I kind of
Mhm.
start with there, and then usually the first thing I look for is like, hey, what's ways that we could make you more money? Whether it be, hey, let's try to position yourself so you can be more valuable and get a promotion at work, or position yourself so you can make more money somewhere else, or a
Mhm.
side hustle of some kind. I mean, like, even Uber or Uber Eats or something like that has kind of opened it where anybody can spend a few hours to get a little extra money, to invest towards their goals. So kind of start going in those directions. And then there's all sorts of balance to life too. Like, sometimes when I start pushing people in this direction, they become workaholics, and
Yeah.
then they're not able to enjoy food, and they can't sleep at night. And so then you have to kind of balance lifestyle with
Mhm.
um, making money and things like that. So I mean, there's just a lot to it, and just everybody's at a different step in their journey.
Yeah, for sure. I think a lot of people don't think about the fact that whether you like it or not does matter, especially on a long-term horizon. Like you got to be in order to succeed in a lot of things, you have to be very, very passionate about it. Like imagine if you weren't passionate about anything financial. Like you even though there's a lot of potential with what you're doing, like it would be very, very difficult to do what you're doing, right? The stress is not worth it. And a lot of people don't think about that. So that's super, super important.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's two things. So there's like what you're good at and what you enjoy are the two
Yes.
things that you're looking for. Because if you're good at it but you don't enjoy it, it's going to burn you out. If you're you enjoy it but you're bad at it, you're going to just be a failure. So
That's just
really,
a hobby.
you need to find the things that you're good at and that you enjoy, and that's probably the arena that you should be spending most of your day in. If you want to have non draining days.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I think that's really a really awesome point to bring up. So let's say one of your brothers, comes up, you go through all these chats. Uh Someone that doesn't have a crazy amount of spending income, right? They're working, their Uber Eats, they're going through everything you kind of just chatted about. Where do you start them? Do you start them in or out of crypto?
Yeah, I mean, and some of that is again going along with your goals.
Hmm.
Because one thing that I've seen happen in the crypto space is, one thing you need to do, especially when you're young, is
Hmm.
start growing. We'll just call it your net worth. So you kind of
Hmm.
need to have like an underlying net worth that is going up. And
Hmm.
what I've seen a lot of young people do, especially, I'm going to not include myself in the young people because I'm 35 now. So I'm an old person in the crypto space, maybe. Um, but I see a lot of younger people. They'll have, okay, I have $7,000 that I've saved up in my whole childhood. I'm going to put $7,000 into the pre-sale on some project. I won't name any project in particular, but I'm going to put 7K into this, and then they lose it all, and then it's like, well, now you're back at square one. So, especially if you're young, I would start with your money in something that you're fairly confident it's not going to just all be lost,
Hmm.
and then kind of treat that as like, hey, here's my net worth, and it's going up over time.
Hmm.
And then I would use like some of the more degen, we'll call them, crypto projects to kind of fill the safer buckets up. But I do like the crypto space. I think that the crypto space can be a shortcut to a lot of your financial goals. Traditional financing, it'll be hard to find over 12 or 13% APR on really much of anything. It'll be hard to
Yeah.
find over 7 or 8% on a lot of stuff, honestly. And so some of your financial goals might take you your whole life to reach. And crypto could be, cut that in half or cut that into a third or a fourth. And so that's where I think crypto can be a benefit for people. if used correctly.
Hmm. Yeah, that's a really good point. It definitely the first mover's advantage. A lot of people don't realize it's still very much in its infancy and developing. I mean, if you don't realize that, it's just something to pay attention to how long it takes for institutional growth to actually or institutional adoption. And there's been a massive amount of growth, but yeah, that's a very good point.
Yeah. Well, and I want to say too, in my opinion, I think
Mm-hmm.
crypto is more than just first mover advantage, but
Mm-hmm.
it's like, so when you put your money into a bank, what the bank does is they
Mm-hmm.
take your money and they basically do what we're all doing right now, where we're
Mm-hmm.
trying to find projects, they're trying to find good returns. They're using trading bots, things like that. And then they're giving you a 0.1 or 0.2% APR, and they're going out and making a 15 or 20% APR, and then they get rich off of your money. Basically, is how it works. And the reason I know this is if you go to like the downtown of any major city, the biggest buildings are always the financial buildings, the Wells Fargo building, the Fidelity building, and I mean they're 100% making their money from your money. And so crypto
Mm-hmm.
just really gives you the opportunity. Hey, you can do the same thing the banks do, which is risky. Like there's risk when banks go out and they're doing their investing. They do a lot of risk analysis and things like that. But you have potential to get a piece or get the whole pie that the bank would normally get. You get to keep it yourself. So yeah, it's I really enjoy it a lot.
Yeah, there's a special opportunity crypto does bring for sure. And so kind of branching on from, that original like kind of train that we were going on. Let's say you do make those, you start off with something safer, you start to branch out, you start getting that net worth up. At what point do you say, okay, I'm now going to take my profits from, something a little bit more risky, and slowly put that passive income back into something a little bit more stable, so you don't end up going, like you said, from 7,000 to zero in, a couple days.
Yeah. Well, and some of that is your risk tolerance. So
Hmm.
again, you can kind of tell how you feel about things. Like, are you having trouble sleeping at night? I have a wealthy friend who he says that's his test for if he's invested in too risky of things is if it's keeping you up at night. If the first thing you do when you wake up is you have to check something because you're stressed out. Oh, what did it do overnight? Then you probably are maybe over extended in that particular place. So that might
Hmm.
be a sign. Hey, get some of that out. If it's super risky, then yeah, I always like to get out my initial because then you're at least not going down in net worth. Because
Hmm.
I mean, that's the worst thing for your goals is to lose money. And so getting out that initial kind of like, okay, on this project, I know I didn't lose money is a kind of helpful thing. Usually on most projects, I do a 50% compound, 50% take profit out and put it
Hmm.
somewhere else. But it depends on the project. Like there's some that I feel, oh man, this is super risky. Some of my members, well, I won't mention which ones in particular, but some I think are super risky, and so it's like, okay, I'm only claiming on that project. Then there's others where it's like, hey, I like project 79. I think this is pretty safe. I'm going to compound my whole 100% this month till I get to kind of the numbers that I'm shooting for. So
Hmm.
that's kind of how I handle it.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. I think it's super important to, like you said, the amount of time spent for these banks actually going through this risk. And I mean, it's their full job, right? This is like, or when you're looking at some kind of a financial advisor, like their full job is involved, is like their entire world is around this, these questions about risk management, about not losing your initial, because that is one of the toughest things to come back from. Losing your initial is, I mean, it takes you down to, it's exponentially worse than not gaining anything.
Yep. Yep.
And even doubling your money, losing your initial is exponentially worse than doubling your money. So it's like you're in this really really tight spot, right? Like it's far harder to earn that first 7 grand than it is to lose it, and likewise, it's far easier to grow it to 14 grand than it is to um. All right, I'm sorry, not far easier. It's it doesn't mean as much to have 14 grand than to have zero. Like that it's yes, it's the same amount, seven up or seven down, but it's much, much, much harder starting at that zero. The risk is not worth that reward, in my opinion.
Right. Yep, and different people are gonna kind of just have different tolerances.
Hmm.
A lot of money is honestly how you feel. I mean,
Yeah.
like that's a big part of money. Is like not being in too risky of things where you're really stressed out,
Yeah.
things like that. So yeah, it's individual by individual. Like my risk tolerance is way, way, way higher than even other people in DeFi. Like your friend Andy, for example, his risk tolerance is just a lot lower than mine. Which has served him well in some areas. Like he's made a lot of money on, like Flux has been something he's made a lot of money on, but then he hasn't gotten the gains on some of these riskier projects that I've been able to get, like drip and things like that.
Hmm.
So just different strokes for different folks, you might say.
Gotcha, gotcha. Yeah, that's a funny way to look at it. I tend to agree. I think the risk tolerance is big, and there are going to be some bigger wins and some bigger losses there for sure. And so when you're looking into, hey, because you have this high risk tolerance, right? I assume that you're doing a little bit deeper of dives than someone that is just just says no initially. So what are you looking for when you're going into a project that is this risky? Do you just throw forward a little bit of cash and just see what happens, or do you go through a full deep dive and analysis of it?
Honestly, anymore, the first thing I do, if there's a project that looks somewhat interesting, I mean, a lot of times you can just tell just by looking at the website or
Hmm.
looking at you look at the white paper for 5 seconds. Like if I look at it and it says, hey, we're doing an auto rebase token, but this one's different, then I just, okay, no, I'm moving on to the next one. Like I'm not interested in that. So
Hmm.
sometimes I can just get a lot of things out of the way right up front. Like we've seen enough come through where I can just say pretty quickly, hey, this is not going to work.
Hmm.
Um, but if I'm going to do a deep dive into something, honestly, the easiest way for me to get motivated to do it is I throw in 500 or $1,000 and just say, okay, this looks interesting. Let me throw in $1,000 and kind of see what it does, how it works. Does deposit work? Does withdrawing work? What? And then I kind of look around, like, well, are other people talking about this? And then after that is kind of when I'm like, okay, this looks interesting. People don't have negative experiences. I've gotten money in, I've gotten money out, and then that's kind of when I will go to, like, okay, let's get an AMA and kind of see, what are the revenue streams, dig into things a little bit. So that's kind of my process. But for me, like the motivation of having a little bit of skin in the game, uh, helps me persevere through the research process is not always fun. So having some money in it helps in that with that process.
Yeah, for sure. That's actually really, really funny. The just getting testing out whether the claim function works or even the withdraw or like the making sure it's not a honeypot is just a $500 to $1,000 test amount.
Yeah, well, yeah, and so I don't recommend that to everyone. Part of it too is I'm trying to do things so that you guys don't have to. So it's like I
Hmm.
understand that the funds might not be there in the same way. So it's like, okay, don't you test out putting money in and out of this. I'll go do it. I'll do the AMA with them, and then I'll do like my top 10. Hey, I've looked at 100. Here are my top 10, and then that's kind of supposed to help people not have to go put $1,000 into 100 things.
Yeah, yeah, and that's you want to be efficient with the way so you're not if you have $100 to invest, it doesn't make sense to look at 100 different projects to throw money in. So yeah, narrowing that down is a huge help in the space, and I think people definitely realize that and uh try and utilize that. And so like for yourself, I guess with your specific risk tolerance, do you find yourself like starting to take uh funds out of TradFi and trying to move them into the crypto space?
Not really anymore. Like I have enough
Hmm.
gains in the crypto space. I mean, that's originally I used to have all my money in the stock market. And
Hmm.
then I slowly started taking things out for some venture capital stuff. And then I took some out for some real estate stuff. Then I took some out for some crypto stuff. But I
Hmm.
kind of have now they're each their own kind of buckets
Yeah.
where crypto, I make enough where I don't need to really take anything out of traditional finance, and kind of vice versa. I don't take much out of crypto to put into other things.
Mm-hmm.
Um, just because I think that I see a lot of opportunities in the crypto space. And so I kind of just letting each of the three buckets, the stock market, real estate, and crypto, kind of do its own thing.
Yeah, for sure. And so what that makes me curious. What have you found like the best returns in? I would assume crypto, but I don't want to assume too much.
Yeah, I mean, crypto by far.
Okay.
I mean, there's nothing that compares with it. And
Mm-hmm.
like real estate, not right now, but real estate usually has fairly good returns, but it's way, 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 way more work.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Now crypto is more active, where you have to like do more research, and you have to, research things and be careful. But I mean, the gains are just so crazy in crypto compared to everything else that for me, I think it's worth it.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I think that's a very, very good analysis. The amount of work kind of put into, signing a real estate deal or something like that is, purchasing a property is not something you just do in an hour of time, spare time. Takes a
Right.
little
You
bit
can't just
longer.
connect your wallet
Yeah,
and
exactly.
right.
Send funds
Also,
over.
too, people tell me, "Oh, crypto is so risky. You should stay in the stock market." But it's like, I mean, look at stocks for the last year. Like, that's what people don't realize is it's like there's not really a super safe asset class. I mean, you can keep your money in cash or bonds or something like that, but there's just not really a safe place to put your money.
Hmm.
The Dow's down 3%, or Nasdaq's down 3% today. So it's like, if I'm gonna if there's nothing that's super safe, I might as well put my money in places where the upside is a lot higher.
Hmm.
um you know the stock market, you have like an upside potential of 10 and a downside potential of like 5, and it's like, well, I'd rather get in crypto where, um so, at least some of the safer projects that we've seen recently, to me, I just, my risk tolerance, it just feels good, and it's worked
Hmm.
out really well.
I mean, even if you're just in blue chips, like you're looking at an upside potential of 10x, and from there, yeah, it might drop, but I mean, on average, blue chips have performed better than any other asset class in history, right? Like and that's just looking at top 10. Like it's crazy the returns that you've seen in like almost 10 years.
Yeah, nope, definitely true.
So, I kind of wanted to also pick your brain on a little bit. What are those things that you're looking into now, like in DeFi? Are you more looking at, hey, I'm gonna, take a little back step because of where the markets are right now and be a little bit more cautious? Or are you still doing that same, throw $500,000 in and see what happens?
So yeah, I'm being more cautious, I would say. Like, there's some things that I just don't like, and so I just
Mm-hmm.
will not get into a project. Like, monthly fee is something that
Mm-hmm.
I just refusing. I just don't want to get on and pay it. And I've been burned by several projects where I forgot to pay a monthly fee, or what have you, and then I lose rewards, or I lose my node, or whatever. So I've just,
Ah,
a new rule is I'm not getting into something if it has a monthly fee. I'm not going to do
yeah.
it. I want passive income. If I can't find the revenue streams, then I'm not probably going to get in to something
Mm-hmm.
new. If I Yeah, unless I really like the team and they have some big revenue streams planned or something. But yeah, if they're talking more about the tokenomics than they are the revenue, then I'm not super interested in that right
Mm-hmm.
now. It might still be worth a 500 or $1,000, but like, if I'm going to put in the five figures into something, it's not going to be. It's going to have clear revenue streams. It's gonna. I've talked to the team. I think the team's smart. I think they're honest. If you've watched my top 10 projects video, I kind
Mm-hmm.
of go through like the 5 or 6 criteria that I look for,
Mm-hmm.
but I definitely am more picky than I was in the bull market. In the bull market, you could get in early on any project and you'd make money.
10x.
Like,
Yeah.
I mean, it literally, the key to making money was getting on the pre-sale, and that's just not true for projects anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So that's changed my strategy a little bit.
Yeah, I think the time will be back again. It's just the market in general is so bad right now. Um, but yeah, I think that definitely makes sense. I mean, it's really important to slow down a little because of the the changed condition to actually do this. And now that you have those separate portfolios, the biggest thing would be not losing a lot of that crypto portfolio, right? And going backwards and what you've already, all the progress that you've been making over this time. Is there any point do you think that some of those crypto gains go into, like as regulation comes into place, some of those crypto gains just go into blue chips to sit uh, passively for accumulation or into real estate, or where you might push some of the funds that you've been making here into some other asset classes?
I mean, I do DCA some blue chips like every day.
Hmm.
So I mean, a lot of my funds do go to just holding on to like DAG, LTX, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Quant,
Hmm.
Flux, because Andy convinced me. Um, so I do. I mean, I probably DCA $1,000 a day, maybe
Hmm.
into those different coins.
Yeah.
There might come a day when I feel like when you start to get like in yield nodes, I have about $200,000 in there, and it's starting to get to the point where it's like, man, that feels like more than I really want. Even though yield nodes has been great and it's been solid for so long, it still is just more in one place than I really want.
Yeah.
Like if something happens, losing $200,000 to me just seems like that's too much. That's too much in one
Hmm.
place. So there might come a time where I feel, if I have $200,000 in yield nodes, 200,000 in Project 79, 200,000 in Goldbridge, 200,000 in all my top projects, there might be a time where I'm kind of like, hey, I think I should, move some of this out and buy an apartment complex or
Yeah.
something like that.
Mitigate some risk.
Yeah, mitigate some risk.
Definitely.
Um, but there's enough projects right now in crypto and new ones that I keep finding where I haven't had funds just sitting around where it's like, oh, I'll go move these to real estate now. So, but probably in the future that would be one of my goals.
Gotcha. Yeah, that definitely makes sense. I think that's a good point that you bring up. I am definitely curious as to how much you put into yield nodes for it to be at 200 grand though.
Yeah, I'd have to even kind of look it up because a lot of times if you don't have the money to put in up front, then just
Hmm.
okay, I'm gonna put $1,000 a month in for 20
Gotcha.
months or something like that is a super. It's crazy how how quickly $1,000 a month turns into, oh, now I have 50K in there. Um, so
Gotcha. Gotcha.
that's what I would kind of recommend. But I think I probably put I don't know. I'd have to calculate out exactly. There's like some of my numbers are messed up too because I have referrals and things like that.
Mm,
And then it's hard to kind of like I try to do it on my monthly numbers, but like, okay, if I took out my referrals, here's what you could kind of expect. But it's a little bit difficult to work through some of that.
yeah, the quick maths aren't really there.
Yeah, exactly.
For sure, for sure. And so right now, looking a little bit outside of the crypto space, what are the different pieces that you're, or whether it be stocks or real estate, what are you looking into right now? Or is there any real active uh diving into anything new?
Outside of crypto, I mean, like there's constantly so I'm part of like an investment group,
Hmm.
and so like we have people every day basically looking for investments, and I would say like the average deal that they're looking for is um 10% APR on a $50,000 investment,
Hmm.
and usually the minimum is 25K or 50K or something like that. And so it just usually I'm not super interested in that, just because I think, oh, if I have 50K sitting around, I'd rather put it in Project 79 and get we got 7% for September. And
Hmm.
so it's like I almost get the full year return in just 1 month in one of these types of projects. So, I mean, there's a lot. Like, I'm part owner of a trucking company. I'm part owner of a coffee company. I'm part owner of an e-commerce company. So, I mean, I look into those things, but I don't know, just none of them are as good as the stuff going on in the crypto space, in my opinion.
Yeah, it just doesn't catch your attention.
Yeah, I mean, and that's a good way to word it. It's just like Yeah, I'm not like there was a company that's wanting to they're talking about how ATMs are a really good investment and that you can get your ROI in about 4 years on an ATM. And I'm like, well, I don't know, I can get my ROI in like 6 months on yield nodes, I don't know, it's hard for me to justify putting the work in to go and buying a bunch of ATM machines or vending machine. Someone was trying to get me to to buy a vending machine to put out, and they're like, "Oh, it's not much work. You just restock it once a week." And I'm like, "That's a ton of work. I'm not gonna go restock a vending machine." Uh, so yeah, there's not a lot outside of this space that I'm super interested in right now.
Yeah, gotcha. That definitely makes sense, and I think it's really hard to be in this space, then look back at like returns you're getting outside of it, and be even mildly pleased.
Right. No, totally. Yeah. One thing, so Masterworks, if you guys have heard of Masterworks or VinoVest, those are two. It's like Masterworks is investing in fine
Hmm.
art. And you get maybe like 15% APR. And then VinoVest is investing in wine and it's like, yeah, 10% APR maybe. So again, when you're looking to kind of diversify your portfolio and just, bring some security, those might be things to look at. But um, I don't know. If I find interesting things, I will bring them onto my channel. And one thing I might be doing more on my channel is like side project type things that don't take a
Hmm.
lot of work. But just here's a way you can make a little bit of extra income without a lot of extra time. And so I might be doing more of that on my channel going forward.
Hmm.
But that's kind of, yeah, that's where I'm at right now.
Just side hustles. I like it. I like it. It definitely will bring some new people to light, and probably expand to that more non crypto audience that you might be able to get more people into DeFi with. Um, Real quick, I was actually kind of curious. I don't want to be like take up too much of your time today. But one question that I think I really wanted to kind of chat about was your faith, right? Because that's something that we brought up before, and I think it definitely makes a lot of content creators stand out because there aren't a lot of people that actually keep that in mind when they're going through their everyday, conversations and everyday life in general. And I just wanted to kind of get a feel for like where right now, like what is with the season that you're in, where does that take place, or where does that what role does that take in what you're doing right now?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Unfortunately, I have to go here in like 2 minutes probably because
Yeah.
I have a live stream starting. And but this is the most important question, so we should start with this one. Next time we'll start with this one.
That sounds
Uh,
good.
but yeah, no. So everything that I do believe that that we're all sinners. That Jesus died on the cross for our sins, and that He's coming back someday to take us to be with Him, and that pretty much that like shapes everything that I do. Like I don't see when I was younger, I definitely saw, oh, I want to enjoy life and want to live it up and those types of things. But now I just kind of see, hey, life is short. I just want to serve God the best that I can. I want to love Him with all my heart, soul, and mind, and love my neighbor as myself. So I mean, that's what I kind of just try to do each day. Is like, hey, how can I help people? Jesus says, if you want to be great in God's kingdom, learn to be the servant of all. So I kind of look through, okay, who can I serve today? That's what I'm about. That's what Jesus would do. And so, I mean, that shapes everything. So I wish I had more time to talk about it. But
Yes,
you'll
we'll
have to
have to
have me
do a
back
full
and we can
podcast
talk
on
just
that.
about that.
We'll have to do a full one on it, a full episode on just that, because I think it's something that people are definitely going to be curious to hear your thoughts on. But I really appreciate you for coming on, and we will hopefully catch you soon, James.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for the invite. Yeah, feel free. I'd love to come back whenever, especially talk about Jesus. I'll come back anytime.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and guys, thank you for tuning in. Make sure you go check out his latest video because um, I believe it was the top 10 was the latest one, right?
Yes, yeah, and
Yeah.
I'm doing a live right now with Dino BUSD. Later today, my video about my trading bots will be out, so stay tuned for
Sweet.
those things.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, we'll catch you later, James. Have a good rest of your day. And thanks for coming on again.
All right, thank you so much. Bye bye.